Alright, hey guys, Will Reichling here, recapping Week 14. I've been dying to talk about this game all week, and that's the Eagles and the Cowboys, and the Dallas Cowboys have now proven that they are better than the Philadelphia Eagles. Dak has proven that this season, at least, he's been better than Jalen Hurts. I would take Jalen Hurts over Dak Prescott, but right now Dak Prescott's playing like the better quarterback. I don't know if Jalen Hurts is hurt, looks like he's a little hurt, but he's not the same. He hasn't been the same. I mean, their defense is Swiss cheese. Their secondary is completely Bradbury, Slay, it's getting a little old, Byard's old. They don't have good linebackers. They don't really have a nickel corner. So Philadelphia is not the same team as last season. I've been saying this for a while. A lot of it comes down to losing both their offensive coordinators, Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon, and it just really hasn't been the same, you know? So that's very understandable when you lose both your coordinators. And the Eagles kind of had a tough stretch here. You know, they played Kansas City, Buffalo, Niners, Eagles. They played another tough team. They went 3-2 in that stretch, and I think it was Dallas again. But anyway, regardless, this might not be their year, okay? They are clearly the third best team in the conference. It goes San Francisco, Dallas, Philadelphia. And when A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, and Devontae Smith all fumble, your three best players fumbling, you're not going to win that game, okay? That's not going to happen. And Dallas almost beat you last time, too. And it came down to a couple iffy plays where Dak stepped out of Browns. They got inside the 10 on the last drive, and then he went backwards. So Dallas had every chance to win that game, the last game. And, it worked out in your favor if you're Philadelphia. But now Dallas has shown that they're the better team, okay? They have the better offense. Even though you might have more talent on offense and you have the better line, but right now they have the better quarterback. Dak's playing better than Jalen Hurts right now. I mean, I don't think anyone could dispute that right now. Even though I would take Jalen Hurts over Dak, I do think Jalen Hurts is better, and I like his skill set more. Dak's playing better. So let's just get that in our heads right now. Dak is playing at an MVP level. He made some great throws again. I mean, that throw to Gallup down the sideline, that was like, wow. That was jaw-dropping. Jake Ferguson's turning to a star tight end. And think about it, Schultz, he's not playing great on the Texans now, but he was playing even better when he was with Dak in Dallas. So Dak kind of made Schultz a little bit, and now Jake Ferguson's turning to a star with Dak as well. CeeDee Lamb's turning to a star, so Dak shows that he can kind of make receivers. Not make receivers, I'm not talking like superstar here, but Dak's playing elite. Dak's playing like a top 10 quarterback right now. I can't deny that. All they got to do is get through the San Francisco 49ers, but they've shown that they can't, and they can finally win a Super Bowl. Who's stopping them? If they get through the Niners, who's stopping them? But they lost to the Niners last two seasons in the playoffs, and they got their asses kicked by them earlier in the season. Don't mean to curse, sorry, but just had to get that out there. So they really need to get through the Niners. That's really what it's going to take for the Dallas Cowboys. But the Niners have shown that they're the best team in the league. So can that happen? I don't know. They're probably going to play again in the playoffs. I don't know if it's going to finally be the NFC Championship game if you're Dallas, or if it's going to be in the divisional round again. But they're probably going to face each other again. But if you could hang with them and keep it close the whole game, Dak has shown that he's been kind of a clutch quarterback this year. Dak has been playing really, really well. And the Cowboys just shown that they had a better team than the Eagles. I said it before, and I've said it like for a couple weeks now. Losing both coordinators, pretty huge for the Eagles. And Nick Sirianni, what does he really do there besides kind of like talk smack and chirp a lot? Because when he used to call the plays when he first got there, it was kind of shaky. Then Shane Steichen took over and got Jalen Hurts rolling, the offense rolling. Guess the head coaching job at the Colts has 7-6. He's 7-6 right now with Gardner Minshew. And, now the Philadelphia Eagles, I don't think Sirianni's calling the plays, but it's like a collaboration with the offensive coordinator. It's been shaky again. It's been shaky. So clearly, Shane Steichen was the better offensive mind than Sirianni, in my opinion. I would take Steichen right now over Sirianni. So what does Sirianni really do there? What's his value? Is he a motivator? Maybe. He might be able to rally the troops. But I don't really see him as this genius offensive play call like a McVay, a Shanahan, Mike McDaniel. Doesn't really come off like that. I don't know if he invented the tush push or Steichen. I mean, not really invented it. It was a quarterback sneak. But still, I think he knows offense to a certain level. But I'm not seeing the wow offensive mind from Nick Sirianni. And the jury's still out on him, in my opinion. He's got a stacked roster, so that could explain a lot of the wins. But he didn't make the Super Bowl last season. You can't ignore that. So this is Dallas' year, though. As far as, if there was ever a year for Dallas, it's this year. I've been very critical of Dak Prescott. I've been very critical of the Dallas Cowboys. But I got to give him flowers where flowers are due. And Dak Prescott's playing out of his mind right now. The Dallas Cowboys are playing out of their minds right now, and the only thing standing in their way is the San Francisco 49ers. So can they get past them? I don't know, but if there was ever a year that I could believe Dallas would get past them, it's this season. So Dallas needs to take that next step, and we won't really know until they get to the playoffs. So we know they're going to play great in the regular season. They've shown it all season. The only question marks we have about Dallas is the playoffs. So we gotta see. I think the bare minimum, they have to make the NFC Championship game this year for their fans not to be extremely disappointed, because they haven't made one in like 30 years, Dallas, since the Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman days, I'm pretty sure. So Dallas, look, this is the happiest they should feel, like the fans, in a long, long time, because they have a legitimate team. I was saying they were frauds in the beginning of the season, but they're not. They're not frauds. They're a real team. And I was saying the Lions were better than that. I would take the Lions over the Cowboys. Not true anymore. Dallas is a way better team than the Detroit Lions. So Dallas, Dak, great job. You got a huge win against the Philadelphia Eagles, who I thought were better, and I was wrong. I just want to get into quick that offside call in the Chiefs game on Kadarius Toney. I used to play receiver in high school, middle school, varsity, all that, and I was a wideout, so I would be on the line of scrimmage usually, kind of like a split end. And when you come up to the line of scrimmage, you're supposed to tell the ref, "Hey, I'm on," or "Hey, I'm off," because then you usually got a slot receiver that's off the line of scrimmage. You got a couple people on, a couple people off, going in motion, and you tell the referee, "Hey, I'm on. Am I good?" And the referee will tell you, "Oh, move up a little bit. Oh, back up. And Kadarius Toney looked like he looked at the ref, but then quickly turned his head. Didn't even wait for the ref to tell him that he had the okay. And he was clearly offsides. Let's be honest. The rule's a rule, and he was offsides. But if you're the referee, you gotta give him a little bit of a warning too. There, usually it's an unwritten rule that the ref usually gives you a warning or two if you're doing it for a few plays. Like, "Hey, you better back up, or I'm going to call it." And I didn't see a warning before that. And that's a critical moment where that didn't really affect the play. So you gotta let the guys play, man. I mean, there was no reason to call that in that moment. No one would have known about it. It would have went unnoticed, unwatched. No one would have. It wouldn't have been in discussion at all. No one would have remembered that. Wouldn't have realized Toney was even offsides. So it really didn't affect the outcome of the play. I mean, what, an inch of a step made Kadarius Toney fast enough to get down the field and catch the flip? No. So, by the way, that potentially could be the craziest play that never happened. So that was a crazy play. I was going crazy watching it, and I was kind of disappointed when they got called back. And it was the right call, but at the same time, it was the wrong call. It was the wrong timing. You don't call that in a situation like that. You let the guys play it out. It wasn't an egregious call that affected the outcome of the play, like a holding downfield that resulted in a touchdown. That was very ticky-tacky, and I wasn't a fan of that at all. Justin Herbert's out for the season. I mean, another waste of a season for the Chargers. Every time I think they're going to make the playoffs and take a big step in the playoffs, possibly be Super Bowl contenders, they disappoint me. I thought Justin Herbert could potentially be MVP this season. Of course, disappoints me. And I think Justin Herbert's great. I keep saying it. His rookie season, he set passing records with one of the worst offensive lines in the league. He made the playoffs with all his receivers basically out most of last season, playing with Joshua Palmer and DeAndre Carter. The year before that, he had one of the worst defenses in the league, almost made the playoffs, almost carried them to the playoffs. So, look, this is going to be Brandon Staley's last season, in my opinion. There's no way you could keep him. You're just hindering Justin Herbert's development and growth. Not that he needs to grow any more than how great he already is, but take that next step in the playoffs, maybe win, and maybe get to the AFC Championship game for once. Win a playoff game, at least. And Staley couldn't do that. He just couldn't do that with a star quarterback. And when you can't get that far, at least win a playoff game with a star quarterback, a top 6 quarterback, 7 quarterback, you're gone. You're out. And best case scenario, you go out, you get Jim Harbaugh from Michigan, great offensive mind, knows how to rally the troops. You saw it in San Francisco. Immediately turned that culture around, immediately turned Michigan around, and he's a great head coach. There's no debate about that. He would come back and immediately impact the Chargers in a positive way. They would look completely different next year. They would look like a well-coached team. But I don't know if he's going to want to go to the Chargers. They're also, the Spanos are on the cheaper side. So I don't know if they're going to want to pay a head coach big bucks. And Harbaugh is going to demand big bucks. And I'm not really sure about Bill Belichick. We heard the reports this week that Robert Kraft is going to be moving on from Bill Belichick after the season. I don't see, a lot of people say that the Chargers is a good fit. I don't really see it. I think you need to bring in an offensive guy, develop Herbert more, those weapons. Maybe you give Kellen Moore a shot, even though I haven't been crazy about some of his play calls. In simple situations, he gets a little too cute for my taste. But I'm not sure about bringing Belichick in. I feel like Belichick would be a better fit for the Commanders. New owners need to develop a culture. I think for the Chargers, you need to go get an offensive guy and be a little bit more well-coached, I know Belichick's good with penalties and stuff. Not really. The last couple of years, they've been the Patriots have been one of the most penalized teams. They used to be great on special teams. Now they're terrible. So I think you need to bring in more of like a Harbaugh, or even give Kellen Moore a shot. If you're going to go the cheap route, because the Spanos are cheap, you give Kellen Moore a shot for cheap. And look, he's a smart mind. And I think, the offense hasn't been bad this season either. They've been a great red zone offense too. So Kellen Moore's been fine, and he's a good, like I said, he's a good offensive coordinator. He just needs to simplify sometimes, just simplify. I think he could be a potentially good head coach. Maybe you give that a shot. Just going into next season, especially for Justin Herbert, there's going to be expectations, not even expectations, but demands. Like, you need to get it done now. You need to start winning games, Justin Herbert. This isn't like a Marino situation where he at least went to the Super Bowl and never made it back. This guy hasn't even won a playoff game yet. So Justin Herbert needs to start winning some games. Like, he's a 500 quarterback, and he hasn't won enough close games. So if you're going to be elite, and we're going to call you special, which he is special. He's a special talent. I still think he's a top 6 quarterback at least, 5 or 6. You got to go out there and win close games and will your way to victory, which he was doing at times first in the second or third season. But now it's starting to falter again. You need to go out there and win big games with Justin Herbert next season. So next year is going to be a make-or-break season for the Chargers, depending on who they get as head coach. And, obviously Sean Payton wanted to go there, but didn't work out. Dable didn't work out. Now you might be stuck with the run of the litter, because I don't know if Harbaugh is going to want to go there. But that'd be your best-case scenario if you were the Chargers. How about Tommy DeVito? At what point do you say, okay, this guy Tommy DeVito, maybe he's better than Daniel Jones? I think Daniel Jones is a better quarterback than Tommy DeVito. But is the gap really that far off? I think Tommy DeVito has better instincts with his running. Like, he knows when to escape the pocket and take off for a first down. And I feel like Daniel Jones kind of holds on to the ball too long in the pocket, takes sacks, fumbles, even though he's cut down the fumbles of late in his career. The last couple seasons, he's been better. Tommy DeVito, I just feel like, has better instincts in the pocket, like moving out. He just knows when to get rid of the ball, when to move out, and that's why he's taking less sacks. And he missed a couple of open receivers, but he also made some great throws, like that touchdown throw rolling out right to the back of the end zone. Great throw. And Wan'Dale Robinson's really starting to come on as a weapon for you guys, other than Barkley, and I guess Waller, who's hurt. Wan'Dale's probably your best weapon right now. So that Wan'Dale Robinson's probably a guy you keep moving forward. But at what point do you say, maybe this guy has something? Maybe this guy could potentially be a starting quarterback in the league. I mean, I think he's earned his spot to be a backup somewhere. But at one point do you say, this guy could potentially be a starter, like a Brock Purdy story? Even though Brock Purdy was drafted, this guy was undrafted. So more like a Kurt Warner story, a mobile Kurt Warner. At what point do you say that? For me, you gotta at least beat the Eagles. Let's see what happens when you play the Eagles. I know you play the Saints this week. You gotta definitely beat the Saints, and then you gotta beat the Eagles. So you win. What do they win? 4 straight now. You win 5 straight, 6 straight. Then I'll start taking you seriously, man. You get this team into a playoff race in the last week or two. I'll start taking you seriously. You might really have a quarterback competition going into next season. Even though I do think Daniel Jones is better. I think he's the better arm. I think he's bigger. I do think he's faster. I think Tommy DeVito has better instincts on the field, and he's a gamer, something Daniel Jones really isn't. No offense to Daniel Jones, but I think Tommy DeVito is more of a gamer, and there's something to be said about that, like that X factor, that guy with moxie. And I feel like Gardner Minshew has a little bit of that. Heineke kind of showed that at times on the Commanders. Just a guy that doesn't have the best talent, but he's going to go out. Every time he goes out there, he performs. Kind of like Purdy's kind of like that too. Purdy's kind of a gamer. He just has that swagger about him. So a lot to like there with Tommy DeVito. I'm not saying he's the second coming of Kurt Warner or anything, but I'm just saying that if you're a Giant fan, you should be excited. There's no reason not to be excited. Who cares about draft picks? I'm all for draft picks and drafting young players and developing them, but it's a crapshoot. You never know who you're going to get. So don't worry about that, man. You're still I think Brian Dable has shown that he is your head coach. He's shown it more this season than last season. I mean, he's been, what he's doing with Tommy DeVito, putting you guys back in the hunt, even though I think you won't make the playoffs, but just putting you back in the conversation. It's a great job. He's done an excellent job, Brian Dable, and he is your head coach. So you have that to feel good about, because as a Jets fan, I like Robert Saleh, but the jury's still out. Your jury's in, because Brian Dable's I heard he's had problems with Wink Martindale, but he is the guy. Look, he knows how to third string quarterback, undrafted, and he's making them look like a formidable player. So there's something to be said about offensive coaches coaching up these backup quarterbacks, and Dable is a prime example of it. So Titans, Dolphins, and Tyreek Hill, when he has 100-plus receiving yards, the Miami Dolphins are 8-0. When he doesn't, they're 1-4. Tua has been, elevated by Mike McDaniel and Tyreek Hill. And Tyreek left in the first quarter, came back in the third. But, when Tua gets pressured, or his first and second reads aren't like wide open, he struggles a little bit. He struggles. He struggles to move out of the pocket. If he has to move out, make a play, he's getting pressured, or people aren't open downfield, he's got an ad lib. He struggles. He's not good in that situation. He's not. He really isn't. He's a first, second read thrower. I think he has one of the quickest releases from when it's snapped in the league. So he's getting the ball out quick, which is great. That's his game. He's accurate, quick throws. That's to his game. Once you start to let him ad lib a little bit, he's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not even Jordan Love when it comes to that. He's not an ad-libber. So there was one play in the red zone on third down where, again, people weren't, his first, second read wasn't really open. So he started moving around a little bit. He just falls right on his butt. This falls. He's not a mover. He showed that there. It's kind of funny, but it just showed that he's not an ad-libber. He just tripped down and fell. And there's another play, third down, later in the game, fourth quarter. Critical situation, needs to get the first down, so he goes to take off and run for the first. Gets tackled, doesn't even really, I don't even think he got a yard. So he's not a runner, he's not an ad-libber, he's not a terrible athlete. I saw him run for a first down at one point in this game, and they did move the ball at times in this game. Miami did move the ball. They just didn't score enough points. They were in the red zone in the beginning of the game, inside the 10, and Tua fumbled twice on the same play. So Tua needs Mike McDaniel and Tyreek Hill. He needs that. And when he has that, he's a good quarterback. He's a top 5 quarterback. But this comes back to the point of how can you be MVP of the league when you're not even MVP of your own team? Same with Brock Purdy. I love Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy actually should get MVP consideration. But when you're not even the best player in your own team, how can you be the MVP of the league? And that perfect example for Tua. I would have no problem nominating Tyreek Hill. No problem at all. He's on pace for 2,000 receiving yards. He's an animal, constantly getting hurt and coming back in and still wide open every single play. Every route he could run. He runs cross over the middle. He runs slants, screens, go routes, digs. He gets every single route, and he's open on every single route. This guy is just, I've never seen anything like this. This small and this effective at wide receiver. He could play as wide out slot. You could line him up as flanker, running back. He could do everything. He really can. And that's why he's so valuable to this team. So when he's not going to play, obviously you're going to struggle. But to that level against Tennessee, Vrabel does deserve some credit. He's a smart defensive head coach. He came up with a good defensive scheme, and they stopped Tua, and they stopped Miami. It'd be crazy for the Titans to let that guy go. I've heard chirps about him getting the New England job, and I guess that would be a good fit because he played in New England, but Titans would be crazy to let this guy go because, he was going 11-5, 11-5, 9-7, 11-5 with Mariota, Ryan Tannehill. Imagine this guy with an elite quarterback. Maybe you have that with Will Levis, a nice little comeback, down 2 scores late in the game. He made some big-time throws in this game, but he also had a stupid pick 6 right inside his 5. So you're going to get that with a rookie quarterback. Maybe he's the guy, maybe he's not. But you don't get rid of Vrabel. It's hard to find a head coach that can rally the men the way Mike Vrabel does. And people respect him in the locker room. He commands respect, and he commands discipline. And you see it all around this team. Discipline, discipline, discipline team. And Tua, Miami is still, in my opinion, the second or third best team in the AFC by process of elimination, other than Baltimore. And I guess Kansas City beat them. Who's better than Miami in this division? I know Buffalo beat them in the beginning of the season, but they've had injuries, so I think Miami would beat Buffalo now. We'll find out soon. They'll play again. I don't think Jacksonville's better than Miami. I don't think Cleveland's better than Miami. I don't think the Texans are better than Miami. The Colts, Steelers. So they're just too talented of a team. So they're going to beat up on teams inferior than them. So this was kind of a weird game. Things got a little out of hand, and Tua struggled when he had the ad-lib, which is going to happen. They need to stay on script. Especially, so Mike McDaniel, it just wasn't a great coach game, but he's a great coach. I think he's an excellent head coach. It's just when Tyreek Hill goes down, you're going to struggle. Your scheme's going to be thrown a little bit off because now Jalen Waddle, the 2, becomes the 1. You got Cedric Wilson in there more when you don't really want him in there that much. Even though he's a good receiver, you want to keep it at Tyreek Waddle, Once Waddle gets out, it just throws everything off when Tyreek Hill comes out. So things kind of got thrown off from Miami, but they're still, they're going to have to beat probably Kansas City or Baltimore in the playoffs. But I don't know if they're an AFC championship game team, but they might get a playoff win just because they're just too talented not to. So they're second, third best team in the AFC right now. And I'm not crazy about that at all. I'm not confident in saying that. But it's just so many injuries to quarterbacks and stuff now. And they just have a great roster and they have so much speed. Tyreek Hill does play this team special. So they'll be fine, I guess, but there is some concern. Like, this is why they haven't paid Tua yet, because he's shown that he gets hurt a lot, one, and two, he's not special. Even though he puts some special numbers sometimes, that's what happens when you have special talent around you. So I like Tua. He's a top 10 quarterback in my opinion. But this is why he's closer to 10 than 1. And maybe even be more like 11, 12, 13. So I actually want to get into my top 10 teams really quick. Top 10 NFL teams. I want to just brush through that really quick. First things first, the number 1 team, the San Francisco 49ers. They've shown they're the best team in the league. They're the best team in the league, especially with a lead. When they get a lead on teams, they pounce them. In the second half, they usually pull away. I mean, Chris McCaffrey's having a career year. Debo's back to regular Debo. Kittle's been great the last 4 or 5 games. And Purdy's leading in almost every category a quarterback can lead in as far as important stats. So the defense is really coming on. They have a stacked defensive line. Some of the best linebackers in the league. So Niners they have the best roster in the league by far, and they're the best team in the league by far. Number 2, the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens and the Cowboys are very close to me in my opinion, but what edges the Ravens over the Cowboys in this is their quarterback. I know Dak's having an MVP season, but Lamar Jackson is way better than Dak Prescott. Let's be honest about that. And Lamar is just a difference maker. He's a difference maker in this sort of close race for the number 2 spot for Dallas and Baltimore. He's a difference maker. I think that they played in the Super Bowl, the Ravens would win, and the difference would be Lamar Jackson in that game. Lamar Jackson is the difference maker. He's the X factor. The offense runs through Lamar, and he's playing some of the best football he's played, even though it doesn't look like it statistically. I mean, all his receivers are really balling right now. The Ravens are the best team in the AFC, and they can compete with the top teams in the NFC. So it's going to be fun to watch because the Ravens, this is their year. They have to make the AFC Championship. With everything falling apart around them, this is their year. So, Ravens too. And then, like I said, number 3, Dallas Cowboys. They're just playing out of their minds. I mean, they showed that they're the better team over the Eagles. They need to finally get over the top against San Francisco. I think the quarterbacks, Lamar's better than the Dak, so I have Lamar over Dak right now in the standings because I just think Lamar would just be that difference maker in that game. But I think Dallas is a really good team. And I think Dallas, if there ever was a year to go all the way to a Super Bowl, it would be this year. So Dallas, they've shown that when they play teams that are inferior to them, they destroy them. They destroyed the Eagles. They destroyed them. So Dallas has a lot to like moving forward. Star receiver, their tight end's turning into a superstar. Their offensive line is really gelling together from chemistry long term. Dak Prescott's having a career year. Pollard's actually starting to come on too now. They have the Deron Bland sensation, pick 6 sensation. So Dallas Cowboys number 3. And then now 4, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. And it's tough because they're not playing like the 4th best team in the league, but with that roster and the way they find ways to win close games, I'm still going to go back to that, even though now they started to lose blowouts. They're still a well-oiled machine. When I think eventually they're going to start figuring things out here. This might not be their year to win a Super Bowl, but they're going to win a playoff game or two just because they're so good. And Jalen Hurts, even on an off year, is still having a really good season. He's still going to finish with like 35 total touchdowns. So Jalen Hurts is still a really good quarterback. He looks like he's a little hurt, but as long as you feed A.J. Brown the ball, who's been a complete difference maker this season, now Goddard's back. They gotta fix some things in the back end of the secondary in the offseason. But for now, you're gonna have to live with it. If that defensive line can continue to create pressure, it'll take a little pressure off the back end of that defense. So Eagles 4, Kansas City Chiefs 5, and their main problem is really wide receiver. But Rashee Rice is showing that he's at least a number 2. He's a legitimate number 2. Maybe he could be a 1 one day. He's close to that. He's playing really good right now. But other than that, what do you got? Kadarius Toney's been very up and down. Sky Moore is a complete bust. Kelsey's getting older, even though he's still playing pretty good. I mean, he's on pace for 1,000 yards this season. Chris Jones is an animal in defense. As long as you have Mahomes, Andy Reid, Kelsey, Chris Jones, they're gonna win. They're gonna win at least one playoff game. Will they make it to the AFC Championship game? Not sure. I know I did say they were 1 and done a few days ago, but they could be 1 and done. But they're still a really good team, and they're going to win their division. I know the Broncos beat them once, but the Chiefs, Mahomes is always going to find a way to win. I know we've seen that less this season, but when the playoffs come, he's going to kick into a 3rd, 4th, 5th gear because Mahomes is just that type of player. When the stakes are the highest, he plays his best. So I'm not going to doubt the Chiefs until I see them lose. So they're still a top 5 team to me. I need to see them lose in the playoffs before I start to doubt that. I need to see an AFC team finally dethrone them because it's been a while since we've seen that. Number 6, the Detroit Lions. Not crazy about this one either. They haven't really been playing well. They almost lost to the Chicago Bears, then came back and won down 2 scores in the final 5 minutes. They lost to the Packers, and then they lose to the Bears when they play them a second time. They've just been very shaky. Jared Goff doesn't have great numbers outside in cold weather. Look it up. He's not a great cold weather quarterback. Playing in LA, I'm pretty sure he went to California. Grew up in California, played in California college. So he's a California guy. Not great outside. Look up the numbers. He really isn't. And when he gets pressured and, things aren't going his way and he's trailing and teams know he has to throw, he struggles. And the defense has really been disappointing the past couple weeks, especially the secondary. But with that two-headed monster running back, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and a star tight end, Sam Laporta, who's playing like a top 5 tight end, and a top 2 offensive line in the league, how can you not put him at 6? Because they're clearly good enough to be a top echelon team in the league. They're just one step away. They're one notch away from taking it to the next level. But they're still at a very, very, very good level. They're still a very, very, very good team. They're the best team in the NFC North. Even though they lost to the Packers and the Bears, they're better than them. They are. So let's be honest. They have a better roster, and I do think Jared Goff's better than both those quarterbacks. So they have the better quarterback. So the Lions just need to fix a few things. This probably isn't they're probably a year away from actually potentially winning a Super Bowl. I don't think this is their year, but they're still going to win a playoff game. They're still going to win their division. So Lions 6. Miami Dolphins 7. Just look at all the teams below them. Like, they're too talented of a team to not be in the top 10. They're too talented of a team to not be in the top 7. Tyreek Hill's having a career year, even though I thought he was Patrick Mahomes made, but he's been better since he's left Mahomes. He's been better. He's on pace for 2,000 yards, and Jalen Waddle is probably one of the best number 2 wide receivers in the league, even though I feel like he's been a little disappointing this season. Mostert's having a career year. This guy Achane is special, man. So, and you got a special offensive head coach. So Miami's got a lot to like. They're just too talented of a team not to be in this top 10. So I'll put them at 7. Number 8, the Cleveland Browns. They've made the top 10. Joe Flacco is playing out of his mind. You just got him off the couch. Looks rejuvenated. Kevin Stefanski deserves a lot of credit. He's had 4 starting quarterbacks this season, and somehow they are still 8-5. So the Cleveland Browns, one of the best defenses in the league, if not the best defense, they can make some noise in the playoffs here. They can. If Joe Flacco keeps playing like he is, like, all he needs is some protection, and he still has his arm. He has a good arm. He just can't move. So if you can protect him, they can go kind of far. I don't think they're going to go anyway. I think they're going to be one and done in the playoffs, but they have the potential to win one playoff game. So they're not going to win the division. But right now, what are they, the 5 seed in the AFC? Somehow, I don't know how that's possible, but Cleveland Browns have been really impressive this season with 4 different quarterbacks, so 8th. Number 9, the Denver Broncos. Sean Payton has turned this team around. They were 1-5. Now I think, 7-6? So Russell Wilson's been a completely different player than last season. I'm pretty sure he's already over 20 touchdown passes. He's about 100 passer rating this season. I think he had like 83 last season. So Russell Wilson's been a different player this season. Courtland Sutton's really come on. They've built chemistry, Russ and Courtland Sutton. Javonte Williams has been a lot better this season. The defense has really stepped up since the 70-point game. Surtain's one of the best corners in the league. Justin Simmons is a really good safety. They got some pieces. And they might make the playoffs. They might. Might sneak in. But right now, they're playing like a top 10 team. They're a top 10 coach team. They're smart. They know what they do well. They try to be persistent in running the ball. Russ makes 1 or 2 outstanding throws per game that can win them a game. And that's all they got to do. Number 10. I was going back and forth between the Bills and the Texans. I'm going to go with Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen's still a top 3 quarterback in the league, and he's going to will his way to some of these victories. He is. I like both their tight ends, Knox and Kincaid. Stephon Diggs is a star, and I think James Cook is really starting to come on. I think he's really starting to alleviate some of the pressure of Josh Allen in the run game and in the pass game. So James Cook is the key to this offense. If James Cook can keep playing the way he's playing, the Buffalo Bills they're still, right now I think they're the 11th seed in the AFC. So they got to make the playoffs. But I think that Chiefs win was huge for them. But I think they're a top 10 team right now. A lot of people keep saying if they make the playoffs, watch out, they'll be dangerous. I'm not sure about that, but I still think they have a shot at making the playoffs. I think Josh Allen's too good to miss the playoffs. So I think Sean McDermott, even though there's been some controversy for him, I still think he's a smart head coach. I still think he knows how to build a culture, and I think this team is somewhat smart, and I think he will coach up the defense a little bit, even though they're missing a lot of pieces. So as long as Josh Allen doesn't have 3-4 turnovers a game, they can win 3 out of their last 4 and make the playoffs. I could see that. So Bills at 10. Houston Texans just missed. I mean, Tank Dell's out for the season. Schultz has been hurt. Nico Collins got hurt. Stroud has a concussion. Things are starting to falter for the Houston Texans. So I don't know if they're going to slip. I still think they can make the playoffs, but they might miss. They just lost to the Jets. Things are starting to slip a little bit for the Texans. Even though they just beat the Broncos, I have the Broncos ahead of them because now the Texans have some injuries. They're starting to struggle a little bit. I still think C.J. Stroud's turning into an elite quarterback. And I still think they could right the ship. But right now, things are starting to trend downward for them. The Bengals I have at 12. Look, Jake Browning's been playing great. Out of his mind. Look at the roster, especially that offense. If he could keep playing like this, at this level, they can kind of go far. They really can. So, he's been playing well. He's been playing really well, and Mixon's been playing a lot better lately. Jamar Chase, Higgins, I'm not going to go through the whole offense with you. They have a really good offense. The defensive coordinator is really smart, too. So, they've been playing really well. I think people underestimate Zach Taylor's coaching abilities. He's really coaching up Jake Browning right now. He really is. So, the Bengals are at 12. So, I wanted to give 3 teams that missed the cut. So number 13, I have the Rams. They've been playing a lot better lately. As long as you have McVay and Stafford, you're going to be just fine. It's really Aaron Donald and a bunch of kids on the defense, but they've been overperforming. And Puka Nacua, of course, having a career year. Cup's finally starting to come on. And Kyron Williams is so important to this team, and he's been so huge of an addition for this team. And another 100 rushing yard game last game. He's going to be so huge as they make a playoff push. And I really think the Rams are going to make the playoffs, even though they're 6-7 right now. So Rams at 13. Now repeating that again. Number 1, I have the Niners. Number 2, I have the Ravens. 3 Cowboys. 4 Eagles. 5 Chiefs. 6 Lions. 7 Dolphins. 8 Browns. 9 Broncos, and 10 Bills. So I want to make some Week 15 picks, and I'll pick the top 5 games that I think are the 5 most important games going into the week. So first I'll do Steelers at Colts, and this one was kind of tough, but not really, because Kenny Pickett's out, even though I don't think Kenny Pickett's any good. He's better than Mitch Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky is the king of dink and dunk, so all it's going to do is check down the entire game and not push the ball down the field much. Pickens will probably get upset. Deontay Johnson will probably get upset. It'll be a defensive battle. I know the Colts got blown out last week, but that's exactly why I think they're going to bounce back here. I think Shane Steichen's a good head coach, and he's going to have these guys ready to play. Gardner Minshew's going to bounce back, and this Colts team's going to bounce back this week. So give me the Colts at home. I'll take the Colts here. Broncos at Lions. This one was really tough for me, but again, Lions got embarrassed by Chicago. I think the Lions they're home here. I think they're going to bounce back. They're going to be in their dome, so Jared Goff's not going to be playing in cold weather. I just think they have the better team. They have the better roster over the Broncos. Even though I think I slightly like the Broncos coach more than I like Sean Payton a little bit more than Dan Campbell, but I like the Lions roster a lot more. If they can run the ball effectively, they will set up the play action. Goff will get rolling in this game, and I think they're going to bounce back. They got a little bit embarrassed the past couple weeks. They haven't been playing well. I think they're going to show teams why they're one of the best teams in the NFC, and I think this home field advantage, Goff not playing in cold weather, will help them out a little bit. So give me the Lions home. Cowboys at Bills. I'll go Dallas Cowboys here. I think Cowboys are the better team. Dak's playing like the better quarterback right now, even though Josh Allen's the better quarterback. But Dak's playing better than Josh Allen right now. Dak's playing out of his mind. They have the better defense. I think CeeDee Lamb's better than Diggs right now. And I think Mike McCarthy's a better head coach than Sean McDermott. I mean, Mike McCarthy's won a Super Bowl. What has Sean McDermott won? All he's done is disappointed. And all he's also done is set up controversy. So I like Dallas here. I really like Dallas. In the big game, Dallas has to start showing why they could beat good teams. They beat Philadelphia. They got crushed by the Niners. I think they want to come out here and show, hey, we could beat these legit teams. And even though the Bills have struggled this season, they're still a legitimate team. So I'll take Cowboys here. And might even potentially be a blowout. I think the Bills might get kind of shocked here. I think Dallas is going to come ready to play, and I think Dallas is going to show why they're the better team. So Sunday Night Football, I got Ravens and Jaguars, and I'm going to go Ravens here. I think that, Jacksonville, they've been a little disappointing at times this season. They got crushed last week. And Trevor Lawrence looks like he's a little injured, and even if he wasn't injured, he's not necessarily playing his best football this season, even though he was starting to come on before the injury. They've been a little bit disappointing this season, the Jaguars. And the Ravens are playing their best football. Lamar's playing some of his best football. All their receivers are coming on. I just think the Ravens are the class of the AFC right now, and I think Lamar is the class of the AFC, and Lamar's on an MVP mission still. I know Purdy and Dak are the favorites, but Lamar's still a dark horse candidate, so give me the Ravens for Sunday Night Football on the road. Monday Night Football, Eagles, Seahawks, and look, Eagles are just a better team. I know a lot of these games, I keep saying the team that's going to win is because of the better team, but here, the Eagles really are the better team. And they've gotten embarrassed by the Niners and the Eagles, so they're going to want to bounce back here, and they're going to want to bounce back in the right way.